I tried to walk past her like she was just another stranger in a crowded street, like her presence didn't tug at something buried deep inside me. My steps were quick, rehearsed, the kind you learn when life teaches you not to linger, not to look, not to get involved. But before I could take another step, her hand shot out and grabbed my collar, firm, desperate, but not aggressive. Just urgent. "Look at me first," she whispered. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried something heavy, something that made time slow down. I turned, almost reluctantly at first, expecting irritation, maybe confusion. But the moment my eyes met hers, everything else faded, the noise of the street, the passing cars, the murmurs of strangers. She looked like someone who had been holding herself together for far too long. Her name, I would later learn, was Eliza Hartwell. But in that moment, she was just a stranger with trembling hands and eyes that seemed to be asking a question I didn't yet understand. "I'm sorry," I said, instinctively. "Do I know you?" She didn't let go of my collar. Instead, her grip softened, as if she realized she might have startled me. But her eyes didn't waver. "No," she said quietly. "But I think you might know how it feels." That caught me off guard. "How what feels?" She hesitated, searching my face as if trying to confirm something only she could see. Then she took a slow breath and let go of my collar, her hand falling to her side. "To feel invisible," she said. Those words hit harder than I expected. For a second, I almost laughed it off. Almost brushed it aside with a polite nod and a quick excuse. That's what I usually did. Keep things light. Keep things moving. But something about her honesty disarmed me. "I don't know what you mean," I replied, though part of me knew exactly what she meant. She gave a faint, tired smile. "You do. I can tell." I shifted my weight, suddenly unsure. People passed us by, some glancing briefly, most not noticing at all. It was strange, how two people could be standing in the middle of everything and still feel completely unseen. "Why did you stop me?" I asked. Eliza looked down at her hands, then back at me. "Because you didn't look at anyone," she said. "Not a single person. You walked like you were trying to disappear." I swallowed. That wasn't entirely wrong. "I wasn't trying to disappear," I said, though my voice lacked conviction. She tilted her head slightly. "Then what were you trying to do?" I didn't have an answer. For years, I had moved through life like that, quiet, distant, careful not to draw attention. After losing my father and watching my mother slowly retreat into her own silence, I learned early on that it was easier not to expect too much from people. Easier not to need anything. And yet, here I was, being seen by a stranger in a way that felt uncomfortable. "I just have somewhere to be," I said finally. Eliza nodded, as if she expected that answer. "We all do," she replied. "But sometimes, stopping matters more." There was no accusation in her voice. Just a gentle truth. I exhaled slowly. "All right," I said. "You stopped me. Now what?" She hesitated again, and for the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. "I don't actually know," she admitted. That surprised me. "You don't know?" I repeated. She shook her head, a small, almost embarrassed smile forming. "I just couldn't let you walk past without saying something." There was a pause between us, not awkward, but quiet, like the kind of silence that gives space for something real to grow. "My name's Daniel," I said, extending a hand. She looked at it for a moment before shaking it gently. "Eliza." "Nice to meet you," I said. "Nice to meet you too," she replied, though her voice carried a hint of something deeper, like meeting me wasn't just a coincidence to her. We stood there for a moment longer before I gestured toward a small cafe across the street. "Do you want to sit?" I asked. "Since you went through all the trouble of stopping me." Her eyes widened slightly. Are you sure? I shrugged. I've got time. That wasn't entirely true. I always had somewhere to be. But for once, it didn't feel important. We crossed the street together and found a quiet table by the window. The cafe was warm, filled with soft chatter and the smell of fresh coffee. It felt like a different world from the busy street outside. Eliza wrapped her hands around a cup of tea, staring into it as if gathering her thoughts. I used to think people noticed more, she said after a while. That if you were struggling, someone would just see it. I nodded slowly. And now? Now I think everyone's too busy carrying their own things, she replied. There was no bitterness in her tone. Just acceptance. What about you? She asked, looking up at me. Do you think people notice? I considered the question carefully. I think they notice, I said. But they don't always know what to do. So they keep walking. Eliza smiled faintly. That sounds about right. We talked for what felt like hours, though neither of us kept track of time. She told me about her work at a small community center, how she spent her days helping others, organizing events, offering support, creating a space where people felt seen. But sometimes, she admitted, I forget to take care of myself. I listened, really listened, in a way I hadn't done in a long time. And slowly, I found myself opening up too, sharing pieces of my life I usually kept hidden. By the time we finished our drinks, something had shifted. Not in a dramatic, life-altering way. But in a quiet, meaningful one. As we stepped outside, the sun had begun to set, casting a warm glow over the street. I'm glad I stopped you, Eliza said. I smiled. I'm glad you did too. There was a pause, and then she added, you don't have to walk like you're invisible, you know. I looked at her, really looked this time. Maybe I needed someone to remind me, I said. She nodded. We all do, sometimes. We parted ways shortly after, but something stayed with me. The next day, I noticed things I hadn't before, the elderly man struggling with his groceries, the young woman sitting alone on a bench, the cashier who looked like she'd had a long day. And for the first time in years, I didn't just walk past. I smiled. I asked. I stayed. Because sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one person, one simple act of courage, to remind us that we are not invisible. Weeks later, I returned to the cafe, hoping to see Eliza again. And there she was, sitting by the same window. This time, I didn't hesitate. I walked straight up to her, met her eyes, and said, "Hey. Look at me first." She laughed, a light, genuine laugh that filled the space between us. And in that moment, I realized something simple, but powerful. Being seen isn't just about someone noticing you. It's about choosing to notice others. It's about stopping, even when it's inconvenient. It's about reaching out, even when it feels uncertain. Because behind every face is a story, and behind every story is a heart waiting to be understood. And sometimes, the smallest connection can change everything. So if you ever feel like walking past someone, like it's easier not to look, not to engage, pause for just a second. Because you never know who might need you to see them. And you never know how much you might need it too.